The following content contains explicit material. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh my goodness, it's been a long day. We just got out of the lake, Mille Lacs Lake over there, and we're all exhausted. This was his fourth day of the Bass Pro Tour on Mille Lacs. Yeah. So these are my brothers here. These are my MLF brothers, cameramen, and I thought it would be fun to do a podcast with you all. This is the end of the season, okay, for the Bass Pro Tour. And I thought we'd just share war stories of the year and just past years and just go through what's it like to be a major league fishing cameraman, and anything you guys want to talk about. I love you all, and I just want to get this recorded for posterity. And Tom, are you okay? You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Let's do this. Let's go.
This isn't another fishing podcast. This is another fishing podcast.
We need to do this quickly because everybody, certain people, Tom is one of them, you like to get to bed at the same time as my grandparents like to get to bed. So I understand. So we need to get this wrapped up quickly. But first and foremost, how was everybody's day today? Mille Lacs, just so you know, so I'm from Minnesota. Okay, and it is pristine, calm, still. I can see the other side of well, not really, it's a bit hazy, but I can, and here's a random dog walking through the shot. It looks like Cujo. Do not touch that dog, Tom. It is drooling.
Dog's looking for a spot.
Get a dead cat and offer it to the dog.
So, everybody have a good day out there today? This is unheard of, this weather that we're having.
Start it off there, boss.
And introduce yourself. And first of all, when you get the mic, you got to introduce yourself to the camera and where you're from.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Phil. I'm from San Diego. And it was a stellar day. It was one of those days that was just super nice out there in the lake, real calm, and almost makes the job seem easy on days like today. Oh my God. And now, Pell.
Pell, hey. Where are you from?
Pell, I'm from Tulsa. Currently living in Maine, though. Maine is much nicer than Tulsa. I've been full-time in an RV for 4 years now.
By the river.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys both, you guys both RV, correct?
Cody and I do, yeah.
Full-time.
We
No
don't together.
one else RVs here?
Just those two.
Just you two. And so what's that lifestyle like?
Not the same RV.
I got my notes out here. I don't want to forget anything.
Well, it's like, Greg, it's like having a house.
Yeah.
Only it moves.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, do you what are the benefits of RVing as opposed to flying we do, the majority of
Well, the biggest benefit is that you can guarantee that you're going to show up somewhere. Mm-hmm. Because when you get on a flight, you never know if the flight's going to go. You never know where it's going to take you. It might take you halfway. It might take you all the way. You never know. It might get you there 2 days later. You take an RV, you actually know you're going to have a place to sleep. You're going to have your own time to get there whenever you want to get there. And when you get tired of everybody at the end of the day, you just go and you get in your RV and you close your door and nobody comes and bothers you. There's not going to be a fire alarm going off in the hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That happened, yeah. That happened 2 tournaments ago.
It's happened more than once.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
it's got its benefits.
Does anybody feel awkward? Please, we have to be honest here. Does anybody feel awkward that our boss is right over there, watching us? Is this so we don't say anything we're not supposed to say?
Fuck that guy.
Oh, and that's true. So on this podcast, if you want to swear, this is a
buy him another drink. Give him another drink. No, he doesn't make us nervous at all.
So what was this season like? So the problem that I have.
Let's go back. Let's go.
I can't even remember what the first tournament was of this season because
November 11th was the first championship
of this season.
Of Major League Fishing.
Oh, we can go way back. Let's do it. Yeah, like this. So who raise your hand? Who is at the very first tournament Major League Fishing?
You said November of 2011.
We're talking Dave is behind the camera right now, but Dave Appleton.
He's one of the Fox.
One of the.
I was there. Lake Amistad.
We were there at the very.
We're losing Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly again, another person behind the camera. Kelly is he does everything for us. He makes sure. I mean, he should be over here, but.
Well, we started in beautiful, luscious hotels now, but way back when, our hotels we started in were not so good.
That's very true. What easy there. I thought that was a nice place.
I just knew that was in Mexico.
It hadn't grown up yet. I think that first event was at Lake Amistad, down on the Texas-Mexico border.
It's where you hear
it was
of all
Byron
the
Velvick, who was
And who won?
supremely popular because of his time on The Bachelor. Pro fisherman on The Bachelor, which thrust us into the mainstream, right?
It's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
He did thrust. He thrust. I think he thrust all of us into the mainstream. But and he had the hotel, the lodge where we stayed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite ready for occupancy, if I remember right. It just seemed a little unfinished.
What I remember most about that particular tournament was that Kevin VanDam hooked me in the forearm.
Yo, so good.
That's got a lot of views.
That got.
And it took how many times to get the hook out?
Yeah.
That was I don't know. It's gotten way more views than any video I've ever put up on the internet. That's for sure.
Pain sells.
Yeah, pain definitely.
Where'd you get hooked at?
I got hooked right here. Really severely. So I was with VanDam, and he's making a hard charge to get into first place, and he's going like crazy, and he's ripping out casts. Of course, he's using a jerk bait, and he on his back cast, he goes, and it just goes boom right into my forearm, and the jerk bait just blew apart. It absolutely blew apart in my forearm, and the only thing that was left of that jerk bait was one treble hook in my arm with the 2 hooks in it, and then the other hook just had a little bitty part of the jerkbait left, and that treble hook also had 2 hooks in my arm.
It hit your arm so hard that
it blew apart. It blew apart.
Well, it's because he was also pulling against it whenever it went in his arm.
Yeah, the back and
Right.
So do you feel like you cost him that championship? Do you feel bad about that?
I feel a little bad about it, but I remember seeing comments, like VanDam, man, that guy's such a jerk. Did you see how he treated that camera guy? I'm like, I've been working with VanDam. Even at that time, I'd been working with VanDam for like a decade, Yeah. So, it was. I told. It might sound stupid, but I was like, I'm such an idiot about this sport. So I was like, keep on going, man, keep on going. But he broke the line. Everything broke. There was only two treble hooks. No, please. We appreciate this.
I remember it took. The first try of the first hook came out really smooth.
Yeah, explain what happened. So Gary Klein and VanDam
were there.
Got the hook.
And it was being filmed.
Yeah.
Who filmed it?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, who filmed it? Well, it was a whole bunch of us filming it.
And then
the second hook didn't come out so good, did it?
No, well, what happened is people thought that the way it looks like there was, I don't need this. I have a mic here.
Oh.
Don't you know stuff about audio? Come on, Rick.
Check.
So, have you introduced yourself yet?
Yeah, hi. I'm Rick Westfall. I'm from wherever. Check.
Right, currently you're from Arizona.
Right.
But anyway, so what was crazy about that, when they pulled, it wasn't like people thought when they saw it that it was like one of the hooks just kind of ripped and didn't come out all the way. What happened was Klein, the braid slipped. And that's what happened. It wasn't as bad as what it looked. But
everybody went.
What was scary to me when that happened, though, is that I'd seen one hook get pulled out with braid before, but I've never seen 2 of the hooks of a treble hook get pulled out at the same time. Right. So luckily it worked. It worked, and then it also worked. So it worked for the first treble hook that came out, and it worked for the second. So I was, I was very thankful that it turned out as well as it did. And the other thing too. Just so you know,
can I add something?
Yes, absolutely. But one thing. So can you silence your phone for goodness sakes, Rick? So the other thing that surprised me was
he's
that
going to answer it.
Look at it. He's answering it. This is an important podcast, Rick. The world needs this podcast.
He didn't even get it to silence it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is your question?
I don't have a question.
Come on.
So So what I was most surprised with, first of all, the way that thing hit me, I thought there'd be a big bruise, you know, and then I thought, okay, there's going to be scarring, you know, after that. There was no scarring at all, like, and it didn't even hurt the next day. And I'm not. It was weird. So like puncture wounds, if you guys get hooked, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad.
Would it make you feel better if I was on a shoot down in Venezuela with VanDam?
You like dropping locations,
Wow,
man. You're one of those guys.
This was a
man.
sit-go classic adventure. It was
Yeah.
like VanDam.
Iconelli.
Yes, were you there?
Yeah, I was there. Skeet Reese,
Skeet and
Gerald Swindle,
Harold Allen was somewhere in there.
yeah, and Fishburne.
But VanDam, they, you know, when they fish for those peacock bass, they use a wood chopper. They're like about like that. Treble hooks.
Oh yeah,
about like this, hanging
I
up.
can tell you a story.
VanDam was tying one on. He stood up. He got one right in here. His inner thigh.
What? So that
Buried.
what year was that? That was before.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh, I
it's
don't
part
know.
of. I mean, it's gonna happen if you're
04,
a fisherman or a cameraman that films
Oh.
enough fishing. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, if
You
you
know?
if you can keep that visual and give you a little bit of.
So with that being said, I think this segues really, really nicely into. Do you see my notes here? This is my.
It's on a napkin. It's well
Just
done. So you-
no jokes,
move it
please. I know that you guys have. There's some dirty minds in this group, but anyway. So what is the hard? So. Being hooked, I've been hooked. I've been hooked with with Dave Appleton here behind the camera. I've been hooked in Brazil. You can actually still see it. See that scar? A wood chopper in the Achilles tendon. I'd move my foot up and down, and the treble hook, this giant treble hook, would go anytime I'd move it.
Oh
so,
my gosh!
So a voodoo doctor there at the lodge actually took it out, and it actually he was a good doctor, but
now we know what's wrong.
yeah.
God, you
So this is a difficult job, right? So what, other than being hooked, what is the hardest part about, you know, this particular job? You know, what is it? Is it the long hours? Is it what? So what? Just pass.
You know
it
what?
around.
I was going to say I'm going to give it
let's
to
start with
kind of
Phil.
a newer guy. Here's a guy that has not been in the fishing world,
Phil.
and he gets thrust into this.
Right. 4
You
years
really
now
like that word.
I've been in.
He does. He's into that thrust and pound.
You know, hardest part's just dealing with the elements and the weather, rough boat rides. Once we get to where we're going, I mean, the shooting's pretty straightforward once you get there, but getting there is the whole adventure. That, and I'm not a real morning person, which doesn't lend itself to fishing too well, but yeah, I'd say that's the hardest part. It's just all the weather, the elements, getting hit with stuff, standing in the back of the boat. Usually once an event, I'm hit with something.
Well,
Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on how much rain gear and stuff I have on. It usually just sticks to my
Bird
clothes.
hitting you in the head.
Yeah, I've been hit in the head, yeah, for sure.
Right on.
Well,
Phil?
Yeah, I think alongside that, I echo all those sentiments. But, you know, just the physicality of it, because in this world, you know, you have to have the camera pointed at your subject all the time. We don't get to reenact hook sets out here.
No.
And so you've got your handheld, you're standing on a boat that's rocking back and forth, so your feet and legs and getting a workout, and you're standing for 8 hours
Yeah.
plus.
Sometimes in the pouring rain.
Yeah, in the cold, in the rain. We fished at Lake Fork this year, and it was 20-ish degrees and
Yep.
sleeting on us. It's been 100 and whatever. But just being up with the camera on your shoulder, in the elements,
No doubt.
ready for
No doubt.
what could be
But do you
a
find
historical moment.
right? Like, do you find? I remember, you know, before doing this job, I looked. What's the name of the show that's so successful on Discovery Channel? Deadliest Catch.
Yeah.
I watched that show and I go, you know, I'd really like to do that. There was a part of me that wanted to do that. You know, it takes a certain type of individual to do this job. Like you have to really not want to be working in a cubicle. We could be doing other things, right? Like, right? I mean, I think we could.
We could.
Is it still recording? Okay, good. That's important.
you, Austin.
But I've examined myself. We have long hours to be able to self-diagnose ourselves. You know, go through almost a psychological examination. Yeah. I mean, I've thought about it many times. I'm like, what in the hell am I doing out here? You know, but there's a part of me that really loves it, and I look at the
paycheck?
Well, it is a pay. Listen, it's important, but there's a lot of ways to get a paycheck. You know, I like the adventure of it.
Not one this big.
Well,
You're still here.
cheers to that.
Brandon?
But anyway, let's keep going around. Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a certain personality, like with an adventurous spirit, to want to, you know, to do something like
I think
this.
the hardest thing about this job is what Phil saves us from. Phil is the meme master because you will die of boredom. A slow, excruciating death throughout the day where literally you're spending 8 hours staring at a dude's butt.
Well, right. And
what's he doing?
You're a fisherman, Cody. You know it, without a doubt, at some point, even if it's like going gangbusters in a fishing day, there's going to be a lull at some point.
But you watch on live, and our show is amazing because we've got 10 cameras. Really, when Jeff's working, sometimes you get 11 cameras, and then Dave out there gets to point a camera at somebody too. And you know, when it's really bad, we got 12 cameras pointed at people because that's what it takes to keep this show going. Because someone's going to catch a fish. But you might be on that boat that literally they catch 0 or 2, or I mean, I know somebody all the way at the end of this thing, no names, Tom Wayne, that didn't have a fish until like the last 30 minutes of the day. And so you're literally sitting there. What do you do all day long? Because fishing is awesome. I love fishing. I absolutely love fishing. Watching fishing can really suck. Watching catching is awesome. And watching this game unfold is amazing. But sometimes you got to keep it together. And what Mark was talking about, you literally got to keep a shot on the guy because you don't know. Any second can be that hook set, and that one hook set might change the whole game. And so you're literally sitting there for 8 hours watching some guy make casts or drop with live scope, and or active target or mega live or whatever they call them all.
There's now 15 graphs on the bow.
Yeah, 15 graphs.
All
All that stuff. Oh, and then the best part is you got the greatest view because you're stuck in the middle seat. Everybody gets all these cushy seats, you know. You got your boat official on your left who's kicked back and relaxed in this nice cushy little chair, you know. Yeah, you got the angler's got something to hang on to and has this nice console in front of him as he's running 70 miles an hour. You know, if you ever want to know what it's like for us, go get on a bumpy dirt road and go sit on the hood of the car when someone's driving 70 miles an hour.
Really good.
Yeah, then you got what we get to deal with.
There's nothing to hang on to.
I'm done.
Yeah, no, I think that's the hardest part of the job. And I've said this many times. Why am I don't need this.
I don't know. Because you have a mic.
The hardest part of the job is, we'll go around here, but it's my turn. Okay. Did you turn off your phone?
Yes.
Okay. The hardest part of the job is, I would say it's if the fishing is tough, and as a fisherman, I feel like I have an advantage. Some of you guys don't fish, so I'm like, I enjoy fishing, but it doesn't even matter. Like if the fishing sucks, it's like you got to keep that shot. You got to compose the shot, you know, and for the whole day. So that and you know, I agree. I think with you know, weather moving in, you have to be. You can't be a wimp doing this. You know, you're exposed to the elements, and you kind of have to have that mentality of like someone that would film, you know, dangerous catch. You got to be kind of willing to. You got to be kind of a hard ass. You know, I think that's. Yep. What do you think?
I agree with Phil said. Is the weather is the most demanding thing of all this. The boredom on the boat all day when somebody's not catching a fish is boring as hell, and then you try to keep the guy up at the same time, try to get to your snacks and eat without going, camera's out, you're down, whatever. But I mean, Major League Fishing has changed quite a bit from when this first started. I mean, we set standards with the technology.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
at the beginning.
No
of this.
doubt.
A
Yeah.
lot, you know, we're releasing
Score
fish.
tracker and all the live updates is huge. The fishing industry's never seen anything like that until
And
Major League
the
Fishing came along.
conservation behind this is really impressive.
Yeah.
You know, I come from the saltwater world, and I thought, I'm going to do bass fishing. And here we are, almost 12 years later.
And let me say this. I said this at the last tournament. I really mean this.
Don't make me cry.
Well, and I really mean this. And I might have been a little bit inebriated when I said it at the last tournament, but I haven't even had a full beer. No, but I do. I have looked up to you, and you are the person that I hold myself to try to. I try to be better so that I'm more like Rick Westfall. I've always been like, that's the guy that's kicking ass out here. That I wanna be that good, and I mean that. Now I'm not going to stand on the back of a boat on top of an outboard motor like you do, but that just is a testament. That's your thing, you know what I mean? That's your signature. That would just be ripping that off. So
I just want to keep my job.
But it's and you have, but you're also I mean this, man. Like I have looked up to you, and I know I give you shit, you know, a lot of times.
Yeah, you do. He does.
But I think you do a hell of a job, and
I'm just glad to be doing this long.
yeah, me.
And the people that
me as
we're
well.
all with, this is a family, even though we have dysfunctional, weird personalities, but they're all cool. But we love what we're doing.
Yeah,
We love what we
absolutely.
do.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, I love you guys. I
We're
mean
going to
that.
continue doing this. And for me, I push myself. I'm not competing with you guys. I just like, how far can I go? Okay, it's boring. Can I stand this way? Can I do that? And then I worked with Tom with Ultimate Match Fishing, and they pushed me to the back of the boat to where, okay, I'll put my knees on the motor. Okay, get back so we get shots of this. Okay, then I started standing up. That's where it started. And it's a great shot from way up
doubt.
there. And
But the guy next to you can get that shot much easier
I
now.
know. I don't like him. And you know what? I hope his fingers start breaking soon so he can't do that.
So speaking of which, yeah. So introduce yourself.
I'm Jeff McMichael. I'm from Bardstown, Kentucky. And probably, besides Robert, I bet I've been doing bass fishing tournaments longer than anyone.
That's very true. What if people don't realize?
So the first one was in 1999.
Yep.
Wow. That's FLW.
You got it.
Sorry, no, I take that back. 2000, you were 19.
I don't know.
2000.
Mine was
Probably
Bassmaster Classic in Greensboro in 1999. So yeah, high point. Like,
So what Jeff can say is he can do two things. So he's had a heavy camera on his shoulder, just like we have. But Jeff's now doing aerials. He gets all the compliments. We very rarely get compliments on the live show, but that's fine. They are amazing shots. I'm just ribbing you here. But tell me the hardest part of being a cameraman, but filming but also getting aerials.
So the hardest part, obviously what you guys said, is the weather comes up, all that stuff, all the hardships we go through, all those crazy boat rides. Whenever we see like Detroit or the Great Lakes on the schedule, everyone goes, oh shit, because you know you're going to get the crap beat out of you. But the hardest thing is this, is when you have a guy who doesn't catch a fish all day long. And you know that one moment you can't turn away, because the one little thing is going to make the TV show or the live show, and you have to be on it all the time. So it might be 6 hours later. And if the guys catch a lot of fish, everything else, it's good because you have a little leeway there. If you miss something, it's not the end of the world. But it's when your guy is really bad that you know it's going to be the big decision, whether he makes it or not. You don't want to screw up.
That's exactly.
You don't want to screw up for the guy. Right. You don't want to screw up for yourself, the show, everything else.
Yep.
You have to do it. So you're really like committed at that time. And it gets to like today, it was that cut period. Tom Wayne was with a guy who didn't catch fish all day. He caught a lot of fish. Adrian Avina all day long, didn't catch him. So I know Tom, I was feeling for him because he didn't want to miss that fish.
Right.
That's like a big deal at the time, and it was 7 hours later.
Yeah.
That you're still like, I can't.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then you're also, when you have those, that's what's so great about this format, because when you have that cut line, and then you got the timer, we got periods, and so you got to get a fish in before a certain time and all this stuff. We got to be so cognizant of what's our battery level at. You know, should I be making a battery change right now because I got, you know, so there's a lot of things running, you know, through our minds, and it can be very, very stressful.
And
you
the
know?
camera's really light.
Cameras. How heavy are the cameras?
28 pounds.
Kelly, how heavy are those cameras?
28 pounds, I think is what we're weighing them at.
And what's the price tag on these cameras?
They're up there, no doubt.
40,000 is what I heard.
100,000.
100,000.
Wow.
The encoder's 22 grand.
Oh, wow, yeah, good point.
The lens is
15.
They're all running about 100 grand.
They are about 100 grand.
Yeah, 100 grand cameras.
And how many cameras do we have?
Full package.
10, 12.
We got 15 cameras.
15 cameras.
Wow.
And they're
And we've only lost 2.
Let's see. That's,
and they're incredible. I mean, they're industrial strength. I mean, we beat the hell out of these cameras, and but aerial. What's the toughest part? Hardest part about getting aerial?
Hardest part about aerial is when you get this great shot and you're coming and things are great and you get a little cocky. and everyone's saying how great you're doing. You're going through trees, you're going through the water. You're like, yes, I can do anything. And then you clip a little tree and you get nervous. But the hardest part is when you're live, because unlike everything else, this is crazy. It's only the last couple of years we're live.
Yeah.
So like anything you do is crazy. So I'll be on a guy and I'm getting this amazing shot, and then they haven't taken me. I keep going around. Haven't taken me. So I'm about to fly out. Battery's getting low. Hooks up. They take me. Beep, beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Land the fish. Smallmouth. Land the fish. They finally get it, and then I do this slow little takeoff, and I pretend like I'm not nervous. Then they cut off me, and I go, "Gah!" I get back and land.
Didn't you have to land on?
So the worst
somebody's
thing. So you were fishing with Josh Bertrand. You're on the back of the boat, and usually with a drone, you have a home point. On a boat, your home point's going to move, and I always go back. I know how to get to my home point. We're in the middle of what's the name of where we're at in Wisconsin?
Yeah, like we remember all these.
Was
that Green Bay?
Yeah, Green Bay.
Yeah.
Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah.
Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah, Sturgeon Bay.
Sturgeon
Yeah.
Bay's crazy winds, up and down, all over the place. We're in the middle. You have no landmarks. We're in the middle. Josh Bertrand is way out there, and I'm circling. And I didn't know that our spot lock came off, and we drifted probably like a mile. And I'm looking at the screen, and I'm trying to fly, and we're going like this, and your boat's going like this.
Yeah.
And finally it starts beeping, and I was on live, and I did a whole thing. So I go back to find our boat. I go back to home point, and we're not there. I look everywhere. I go up. I start looking around. I can't find the boat. And so I was like, shit, and there's no land.
So how far were you away?
I
you
was
think,
like a mile away.
That's
I drifted.
amazing.
It was going so fast, and I had no idea. I was just holding on for dear life. It was really rough that day. So then I was like, well, the only thing I can do is land down Josh's boat. So I go up. You're the camera guy, and I'm like I'm going up and trying to like get you guys out of the way. Josh is on the boat. You're in the back. The driver's there. You have a couple things like all in the back. There's nowhere to land, and so I just start like going real close to you guys and coming out, and you thought there was like a drone.
I thought so. Anybody that knows me, I believe in a lot of conspiracy theories, and so I thought maybe the government was trying to scout me, you know, and hacked your drone.
So I thought maybe you guys would go to the back of the boat. You realize I'm in danger with the drone. You take the life jacket like you're gonna throw it on the drone.
And then it dawned on me, you know, when like we've already talked about, you know, we've been out there all day, and you know, your brain starts to get fried, you know. So I wasn't really thinking. And then it dawned on me, like, no, I've flown a few drones, and I'm like, oh, I think he's trying to land in the boat. There's an emergency situation going on.
Instead of going like to the back of the boat, bringing everyone, you guys went to the front of the boat. Yeah. There's a seat there.
Oh, right.
I have 2 feet to land, and my thing's blinking. It's like down to 5%, 2%. It's going. It's now or never. I go in and land, and it turns off. I didn't even know if I landed or not.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
One thing you didn't mention is how far away were you?
A mile.
You're right.
I had no idea. I couldn't even see you guys.
Except your little screen.
Yeah.
So I landed, and then it went off. I was
That's
like,
crazy.
I either went in the water. So then I came up, and then it was all good, amazing. I went, yeah, I meant to do that. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. Sorry. And luckily, so there's like tons of anglers. It would have been a bad deal. Josh Bertrand.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Fantastic
So
guy.
guy onto it.
They couldn't
No
have
doubt.
a better guy on that.
Yeah, he's fantastic, for sure.
You?
We're tilting.
Everybody remember to introduce yourself and all that fun stuff.
I started doing, I think I started doing shows. I was doing Shaw Grigsby's show in '96 before we started doing tournaments. But before that, I've been shooting fishing for right at 30 years. I started in '92, shooting the first fishing related thing. And I don't fish. That's the amazing thing. I'm terrible at fishing. I'm good at watching people fish.
But you do a hell of a
I do a lot
job.
of wildlife and nature things too. So you learn this tolerance for extreme boredom. You know, you learn how to sort of. There's a trick that you haven't talked about this, but there's a trick you do with time in your mind when you're just completely bored and you're watching the screen, like what Rick was talking about, where you start looking for other shots. You start thinking like, what's the B-roll? And we all shoot birds and we all shoot animals. I've seen beavers and muskrats and all kinds of other crazy things on the shore, and you're happy to get a shot like that. My favorite was I won an award and a $25 gift card from Peyote, who used to produce the FLW, for shooting the most creative B-roll shot. It was these two frogs humping right in the shallow water, and it was so dead calm, and it was nothing happening. It was hot. We were sweating to death, and I look over there, and there was these two frogs making new frogs in the water. So I just slowly did this Nat Geo level zoom into it, and filled the whole screen with this shot, and it was a joke. And I didn't realize he'd put that on the live. And then later, so I pull back out and I go back and the guy catches fish and we go back to it. Well, later when they were going through the footage, I get a screen grab of this shot and a little star next to it, like this is our hero shot of these two frogs. And so you never know what's going to make it on camera.
Yeah.
You have to assume anything you shoot might make it on camera.
For sure.
So yeah, that's.
So the hardest part is just for you. I mean, it's probably. This is a thing.
I think for me, it is a time thing. I think it's the amount of time you spend in the weather, in the elements, with this camera on your shoulder, or if it's a small camera or whatever you're doing, and you're trying to endure, what it is you're doing, and still be creative and still think of like what's the next shot and what's the next shot, how is this going to be used, where can this be put. So you're trying to keep your mind engaged with what it is you're doing while your brain is thinking of 1,000 other things.
And Robert's you're never an ex-Marine.
Former Marine.
You're former Marine. So, being a Marine former Marine kind of helps do a job like this.
So, Simplify is the Marine motto, which means always faithful, right? But what really the Marine motto should be is if you're not suffering, you're not doing it the Marine way. And so you learn this tolerance for like, this hurts. You get this pain right between your shoulder blades, your knees sometimes hurt, your shoulder starts hurting, your back starts hurting. I'm 58, so I'm not young. And yet you just learn how to just breathe through it and endure whatever it is you have to do just to make sure you're on that shot whenever it happens. Because like Pell said, it's 8.5 hours of boredom interrupted by 5 seconds of sheer panic.
It's kind of like war.
Yeah, something crazy is going to happen if you're not pointing the camera in the right direction.
So what I've heard of war, that's kind of obviously what we're doing, but
This is not war.
Yeah, no, it's more than you would think shooting fishing.
Yeah,
If people are watching fishing and thinking, it's because what they see is the edited product.
Yep.
It's just this guy catching, hooking up fish and reeling it in, and that's it. They go on to something else. But there's more to it to get that than most people would think.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. I agree with you. I think there is an adrenaline rush that you get when you know you've got a great shot, you've told a great story.
And you kind of, it's almost like I hardly work out, but I imagine it's that same kind of, if you busted your ass on a workout or something, the fact that you finished it and there's something of just an accomplishment. You've accomplished something of, that goal of finishing a workout or whatever. I just started running lately, so I feel like this is why I'm using workout analogies.
Yeah.
But like you've accomplished something, you've really pushed yourself, or you got that, and you got that great shot. Yeah. I enjoy it. It's weird, but I think all of us have that personality type to some degree,
I'd like to also pass on that to you guys that were a part of that original show. I remember watching the first couple of seasons before I got in. I've been doing this right at 10 years for the MLF, and I was amazed at how amazing that show was. It was so well shot, the wide lens with the two shot with the angler and the official in it, talking back and forth to each other and ribbing each other sometimes, and that engagement between the two of them was something I thought was really had never been seen before. And then also the conservation side of it, of putting the fish back, bringing them in the boat, weighing them, putting right back in their environment, was something that needed to be done for years, because you can't really call yourself a conservationist if you're pulling breeding fish off of a bed and then running them clear across the other side of the lake.
No doubt.
You've wrecked that year's, fish for, baby fish for that.
Yeah.
Those two fish.
And I think too, we all, I'm a fan of this sport big time. Since I was like, I don't know, 14, 15, around there, and we all have these ideas of wanting to be, fans of the sport want it to be mainstream and whatnot. Well, if it gets mainstream, whatever, maybe that will never happen. But if it gets more popular, there's going to be more pressure on the fishery. So I think you have to, this format really takes care of the fish. The fact of the matter, tournaments, weigh-in tournaments there's a pressure there put on the fishery. There's no doubt. How can there not be, So I think a format like this is way better for the future of the sport. So I think Major League Fishing's spot on there. Absolutely. What do you think's the hardest part, Tom, of this job?
Yeah, Tom Wynn from Tennessee. I think everybody covered it. I think one of the toughest things is technology. Just we're always, all of us are cinematographers, camera operators that are really into technology, but who's not on camera. Kelly, our engineer over here, keeps all of our stuff going. That after going through all the most extreme elements and bashing and stuff we do that we're probably not supposed to do to the cameras, the $100,000 cameras, and but I think also with technology it's tough because we're advancing so fast, but it's up to us to kind of keep the viewer engaged. Like today, for instance, I was forward-facing sonar and active target is awesome, but for us to show it and to get the viewer engaged and show what's going on, I think that's a real challenge.
We got to figure that out, don't we? For this sport, that's got to be figured out. If forward-facing sonar is going to be the thing now, which obviously it is, unless we ban it, and I don't see that happening. Like that has to be figured out. And I'm sure. It's got to be figured out.
What's he seeing?
Yeah, come on in.
No, I don't want to come in. I just want to say this.
Oh.
And you're.
Hold on, we're handing it to Kelly, our engineer.
Yep.
Kelly.
And get him close. I think that shot is.
To speak on the impact you guys have on what this is, you take it back to Redcrest.
Have you introduced
Phil's
yourself?
Shot. Yeah, I just did.
Oh, sorry.
I'm Kelly. I'm the MFK. Thank you for that.
MFK, you know what that means?
But Phil's shot at the end of Redcrest. And the guys weigh in it 3 times, and Phil goes in on it, and you see it hit that 2 pounds, and the crowd erupts.
That was cool.
That took this from being a fishing show to being a major sports thing. Right. That shot right there. And that's the impact you guys have on it. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Kelly.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Also, there's a lot of heart in that.
And that's, the anglers are what brings us in.
Right.
Right?
No, I mean, it's, I got a mic.
I mean, we do this for a number of reasons. One, we like the adventure, the craziness, but we really do like these anglers, even though some are a pain in the ass. And some are cool. I mean, and we want to push them to the most. I want to get the best shot out of these anglers. I want to get their personalities to come out. So we all do that.
So that's a perfect lead-in to that was on my list here. Let's not talk about anglers that we don't appreciate working with, but who are your favorite anglers? Who want
talking out of all the anglers?
Who are your favorite?
Small percentage.
Now, who is your number one favorite angler? We're not talking about that.
And most of the time, it's not even that bad. Like the guy, it's weird because they're intense or different things. But there's really not anyone that you really.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple that do I want to fish with? No. But the majority of them I'll fish with.
To answer that question, there are a lot of them. It's like you can't narrow it down to one. You got like a top 10 maybe. But every time I see my name next to Stephen Browning's on the sheet, I get excited. I get just giddy because that guy is so excitable and so positive and so nice. I think I was with him when they coined his nickname, the Puma. It was at La Crosse on the Mississippi.
That's pretty cool.
And he was just, he just did his typical thing. Oh man, he's throwing his chatterbait, and he jumped on that like a wild puma. And they picked up on it, of course. But I mean, that's what it is the whole time in the boat. He is fantastic. Makes our jobs easier.
Bobby Lane, right over there, right?
Yeah, I love Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane's cool. I'd say probably my favorite's Andy Morgan. He's just a real stand-up guy. You go out with him, even-keeled, super into the sport, and he always does really good. It's always a good time with him.
Yeah, I guess I don't need that. I keep on forgetting too that I have on my. But yeah, Bobby Lane is. I think there's a number of them, but right off the top of my head, I think I'm gonna pick Bobby because he provides pickles in the boat, and they're cold pickles. He's got them in the cooler. Yeah. And pickles are great. If you don't know this, they're great. I don't know if Bobby would appreciate that. Just drink the pickle juice.
Oh no!
It's great for dehydration.
You try this. Are you kidding? I am sweating.
Venison jerky.
So I'm Bobby Lane.
I just like whoever drives slowest.
We know that with your back.
One guy with a bad back. That's what those guys. Yeah.
So that is the thing. So I did FLW for a long time before, and I used to crew some of the things, but I got to pick who I went with. So one of the things, so all the fishermen are most of them are superstitious. And so, like, if you've been with a guy and he's done bad a couple times, it's like this horrible thing. So you have to, like, try and pretend. So I just straight out would lie. Like, last 50 tournaments, I've been with 35 of the winners. And like, wow, that's pretty good odds. All right, yeah. And it was all, like, made up. So everything, like, you got to do everything back and forth. But I used to get to pick on the final day who I went with. And so I was like, man, that guy's a lucky camera guy. They didn't know, like, whole sabotage. I got to pick all the stuff all the time.
Oh, nice.
So that part was good.
Yeah.
Who came up with the line, like, when I don't want to be with you, I just lost with you. Well, I'm on championship day every week. Is that you?
I don't know.
I told somebody was giving me a hard time. I said, well, you know what? Think about how many championship rounds I've made compared to how many you've made.
You gotta check every one.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Ish wasn't one that said that at all.
There are a bunch of guys. So,
do you have one favorite?
There's a couple different things. So, Wesley Strader is always fun to go out with.
He is a great.
Day.
Yeah,
Wesley's
fantastic.
It's going to be a good time. David Dudley is so spread. You never know.
He's really fun, man.
He's really
David's
fun.
really fun.
Brent Ayler is super nice guy. He's going to be really knowledgeable. You're going to like learn stuff.
Does great sound bites, He's got that Southern California, just like,
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a few other guys, but there's a whole different guy. It depends on what fishery you go to, too. What you're really going to learn from, that's kind of neat, too. When you get a guy who's really in his element or is doing something he really likes, that part's pretty neat, too.
It is, no doubt. If you had to pick one.
I can't.
Andy Montgomery.
It's just right off the top of your head, though. It doesn't necessarily, but who would you? Okay. Right off the top of my head, like I said, I think Bobby, but that can change. I mean, there's so many great ones.
Some of the old school guys too are fun, who are so good on TV. Here you go.
Are we talking anglers, or are we talking just to have a good time with? Cody Meyer.
Cody Meyer was great.
Yeah,
He's fun.
No doubt.
But some of the guys who are just really good on TV, who know their stuff really well, who are going to give you everything, right? I mean, you don't even have to think about it. I mean, they're like, they give you sound bites.
I know.
They've done TV
they
shows
get
before.
it, man.
They get it. I mean, that part's
like
fun.
Iconelli. Everybody says how crazy he is, but he could give you the best line of the.
And it's fun.
And hump your leg while he's doing it.
That's not fun.
You didn't go there with me.
No, he did with Dustin, though, didn't he? No, I'm going to have to go Shaw Grigsby. Because it's maybe a little unfair, but I spent 20 years filming his show. I know him really well. Super comfortable with him in the boat.
Can I say so? I hadn't worked with him until Major League Fishing, and like the nicest,
absolutely,
the nicest dude.
Yeah, accommodating, easy to get along with,
and
also good
so
at TV.
eat up with fishing. I love it. Like I love that too. Like as a fisherman, just seeing that, like seeing people that are so passionate, eating up with it, and especially a guy like Shaw. that's done fishing, like been a fisherman for so long, but done the TV grind.
Yep.
And he's still like so passionate about tournament fishing.
Yeah. Well, he is.
What's everybody laughing
on
about?
TV.
These two Gomers.
So he is the guy you see on TV. He's not. That's not an act. That is really who he is. I have a funny story about him actually. We were in Alaska filming a show, and we had a limited time in this lodge. It was running on a generator, and so they would turn the power off in the generator. And what's going on?
What am I doing right now?
No,
It's not like this. This is a.
bionic man, isn't he?
It's not like this is a live broadcast. What am I doing? What's going on?
You look like we look like we've had some wieners.
You're very excited.
Listen, it's a wide shot, guys.
Very excited.
There. Who's looking at my crotch? Who's behind the cameras looking at my crotch here? Jared? It's Jared. Sorry.
So, wait,
We're trying to have a serious moment here. Okay.
So this is, I think, a good example of a lot of these fishermen, these tournament guys, because everything we put up with, they put up with even more, because they also have practice days and bad weather and all these things, and they're casting a million times, over a tournament.
Well, and that's an interesting point, is that when I first started this, like I'm doing bass fishing, I come from salt water, and now I'm doing bass fishing. But once I get to know these anglers, I feel to this point now, anglers are athletes.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I got a mic. I think enough with this athlete nonsense stuff. Okay, I see some of these. Listen, I'm not a specimen here. I'm not an athletic specimen. Okay, but and I love fishing. I consider this a sport. This is a sport, but it's not an athletic sport. Stop calling these guys athletes. They're not athletes, for God's sake. Look at some of the physiques of some of these guys. You cannot call them athletes. Just stop with the nonsense. This is a wonderful sport. You don't have to call them athletes.
I would call the cameraman athletes.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, we're not athletes either.
No, I got 10,000
Just
steps in today.
that athletes. Call them a competitor. You don't have to call them athletes. It's so
To see
obnoxious.
Andy Morgan flip right and left and put it right through a...
That's not an athletic thing to do that.
I disagree. I think I would use the word athlete.
No, you have to be. It has to be
What does
athletic.
athletics require? It's endurance. It's precision in your.
Kelly, Kelly's coming in here.
In your sport.
Hi, Kelly, first-time viewer. I just have a question. Talking about endurance, what happens when you guys have to go to the bathroom? And as a second question, other than you, Rick, how do you guys not fall in the water?
And can you? By the way, Kelly, I love that. That's a great question. Can you make sure that I'm still recording and everything? Everything's functioning properly. I appreciate it.
What time do we peak?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Okay. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. How long have we gone so far?
48 minutes.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So I don't say that because I don't think this is a sport. It is a sport, okay, but it's not an athletic sport. It's not like are people that curl, are they athletes?
Are sumo wrestlers athletes?
Is John Daly an athlete?
Absolutely.
Okay. We just have, it's a semantic problem then.
There's an athlete right there.
Golf.
But then again,
athletes.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Timmy Horton.
Timmy Horton.
So okay, so
again,
where were we? I didn't mean to go off on a tangent
You
here.
didn't mean to
Well, I mean, to do what we're
Rick's
doing.
head off, right? But you did.
Say what?
You just ripped your head off.
Did
on
I?
live TV.
I didn't. This is not live, but we are gonna keep that in there. That was
No,
great.
but I
Sorry,
said
go
straight
ahead.
up, I mean, like you said, I think we're athletes too for what we endure all day.
I wouldn't call myself an athlete.
I wouldn't call you.
I wouldn't call you an athlete.
Oh, harsh.
I wouldn't call any of us an athlete.
Okay, new subject.
No, so where were we here? So what were you talking about? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. That was really rude, man.
No.
All that good stuff I was saying to you, nice stuff I was saying earlier about you.
Your turn.
I don't want it.
So okay, so
Where do we go from there? I was talking about that the anglers are athletes, and what they endure, and I'm just glad we've been doing this for so long. I can't believe it was like yesterday we were fishing, and 11 years ago, and now look, 11 years we're still doing this, and now it's become almost full-time work.
I just remembered. So Kelly did have a question. What do you do if you got to go on to to the bathroom?
Well, he's a drone operator. Pass it over.
Well, actually, the drone guy is the most appropriate one to answer this question.
Has
He's
two
seen the
questions.
most of it.
What was his 2 questions? what was Kelly's 2 questions? It was the bathroom thing.
And who doesn't fall in the water?
Okay.
Yeah, how do you not fall in the water?
So go ahead. How do you bathroom? How do you not fall in the
we're
water?
guys, so we're kind of lucky there. Now, the only downside of it is that if you got a lot of spectators following you, that makes a problem. Or if you're in a place where there's a lot of houses on the lake, that can become very awkward very quick.
Or if you have a drone guy.
Or if you have a drone,
comes
well,
right
and you
when
care.
Right when it's going,
Yeah.
I will come in. That's the greatest thing ever.
Or when they first came out with GoPros and they put them on the engine.
Yes,
And
right.
we had to go to the bathroom when we didn't know they were there.
Yep. Well, the other side of that is the FLW at one point had hat cams on the anglers. They had it right here on the bill of the hat, and they were a little pack that the thing went into. And we used to get notes from the editor of like
Can you imagine being the logger for that?
Yeah, that's
because the guy with the hat cam.
That's what we kept getting. Like, can you tell the guys to turn their hats around? We have like female interns logging these tapes. so yeah, that's an issue. They have the same issue.
Okay, you're saying number 1 though. If you have to go number 1, what about the other thing?
I have learned a Kegel internal. If we had Kegels like women do, I have learned this exercise. You can just shut it off. You just like, no, you're not coming out today.
Well, yeah, but there, that even under really, you have that strong of a sphincter muscle.
Sometimes it's also what you have eaten or not eaten
It's
that
coming
day.
back this way because I want to get this
So
out
sometimes you choose not to eat breakfast because I have a certain regularity at home that
diet.
So I change my diet when I'm on these things.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that.
So I don't drink much coffee in the morning, and I can get out there and go, and it doesn't bother me.
So my breakfast regimen is like 2 hard-boiled eggs, And I this morning I got in the refrigerator to have breakfast before going in the camera room, and I looked at the I looked at the use by date or whatever, and it was this day, and there was a lot of condensation, in the packaging of the hard-boiled egg. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I open it up, and there's a bit of a whip. I was like, no, because I had to crap on Cliff Crochet's boat last year. Was it? Yeah, it was last spring for the first time ever. I've never shit. It's a podcast. We can say shit here, man. This is it's so freeing. But yeah, so I remember it was so awkward. It's the first time I've ever in my 21-year career, of like filming out of boats. That's the first time I've had to do that. And I asked him, I said, hey, and the tournament just started. And I was like, I'm sorry to say this, but I gotta actually take a crap. And he's like, oh, okay. So I was kind of under the impression that he would take me to the bank, Mm-hmm. And nothing's really happening. The boat's still staying there. We're not getting any closer. And I get the mentality. It's like, it's got to be frustrating. He's trying to do well in a tournament. Here's a camera, that, most of these guys, it's not.
Competing for $100,000, not a big deal.
Right. Yeah, he's competing for $100,000,
But you got Cody here is gluten-free. How do you get around it?
What's gluten-free got anything to do with going to the bathroom?
Specific about what you eat, right?
Well, yeah, but I've got a diet that is pretty regular, and once we go and bounce down the lake, and we're sitting in the middle seat on a hard piece of plastic. I mean, I'm just glad it's not coming out my ears. It ain't coming out the other side. I don't have that problem.
Well, I mean,
so what happened?
So basically, Cliff, I had to. Things were like gurgling more, and it was a red alert, and I had to say, it's like, hey, I really got to go. And he's like, he told me, he goes, I just crap on the side of the boat right there. I've done it. He's like, I've done it recently, I think he said something like that. So he told me kind of how to do it. And it was, and this is advice for all of you if you have to do this. And this works pretty well. It's dependent on the boat, obviously. But if you go where the boat official will sit, the passenger seat, and if you, let's see if I can kind of document this here a little bit. So let's take, if you can put your phone over here.
Please don't touch anything.
So this is the gunnel of the boat. This is the
toilet paper.
yeah, you got the toilet. That's good.
I'm too
I didn't
close.
have. I don't even know if I had any. I don't remember what I did with that, how I handled that situation. But what I did, so Clifford's like, you hang your butt over the side where the passenger seat is, basically. So here's where the boat officials sit. Driver's seat is over here. I basically went like this over the gunnel. And keep in mind, the boat official is here, the angler's here, and you're coming up with the drone. I knew it was any time. And I'm just like, I'm singing so they can't hear me crapping. All right. So
That's enough.
So what do you guys do? Anything you ever get worried about it out there?
I can tell you this. If you see a camera guy come back to the dock at the end of the day and he's only got one sock on, you probably know what happened.
So you carry extra leg wipes.
Now, yeah. Well, yeah. Now, I've got a little trick I use. I don't know if everyone knows, but for some reason, the cameraman on the boat is the compass for all luck. So when my angler needs a little extra luck, I'll just stop, put my camera down, and take a leak on the back of the boat, and that always causes a hookup. Also battery changes are good for that too. So if they need a little boost, I'll put my camera down, change the battery, or go to the bathroom, and that'll always get them a bite.
So we've taken care of the bathroom conversation. What was the other Kelly question?
How you don't fall off the back of the
how do
boat.
we're like cats out there, man. We've done this for so long, man. Like, especially this guy here, right?
He is the captain of the swim team.
Uh-oh.
Dustin. That's not here. Dustin is.
Yeah, we have another camera guy that had maybe one or two times, right?
Follow.
Yeah. You follow
Was
in
he
the
staying
water.
at the Eufaula Inn?
That you came up with. That was good, Phil. That was
This
good.
is the comedic genius of the group right over here.
He keeps us all going on those
Right.
boring days.
No doubt.
graphic artist.
So this is as a in this podcast, we're growing an audience of fishermen. They want to know what the best boat is. The best. We're gonna go down the line here, right? Your favorite boat to work out of.
Of the one we have to choose from.
You'd be hard pressed to find a better group of people to ask this question to. Like, what is the best boat on the water? Because we're in so many of them, So let's use two criteria: best running, and then best layout. What are your favorites?
Well, I say we've all been in...
What's your favorite?
We've all been in all the boats. My favorite's Phoenix, for sure.
Because of the ride? You still have your phone on?
Y'all know Tim Horton's your favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on in here, Tim.
We'll get to that.
Hey.
Talking about the boats. So,
No,
right.
phone's off. Phone's off.
I got you.
Timmy Horton,
ladies and gentlemen.
Phoenix, well, it's got a smooth hull. I mean, it doesn't beat you up. We're in those boats all day long, just like the anglers. And when you're on the water that long, you want a boat that cuts through the water good and doesn't just slam dance you all over the place. So, in my opinion, Phoenix is
we bring up the
best out there.
No, don't bring up the worst. Just your favorite.
Well, this may not be
Just your favorite.
a legal answer, but Crestliner.
Crestliner. No, that's all. That's great.
Cox's
You
Yeah,
like
John Cox's
You like
boat.
Crestliner, huh? That's an aluminum
It's
boat.
about a quarter mile wide.
It is a wide boat.
It goes about 40, 45 when it's smooth, and it's beautiful. No, I think Phoenix probably. Vexus is obviously a fantastic vessel that is nice to work out of. Yeah.
I think the best thing. I was in a Vexus today with Brett Height. I get Brett Height and Britt Myers confused, but Brett Height's another great angler to work with. So what's great about those Vexus is that they have what's common in walleye boats. They have that shock system in the seating, and so it's really cool to see that in a bass boat. So that's my favorite thing about the Vexus.
Well, let me tell you. the Vexus will be the best boat in the world when they air up that seat. If they don't air up that seat, it is the worst ride.
So you got to air up the seat. If you have a Vexus, make sure you air up the seat.
Yeah, because I did a pro circuit tournament with an angler that did not air up that seat, and it wasn't that bad outside, and I thought it was the worst boat I'd ever been in my life, and that says a lot because I've been into unnamed boats quite a few times with some crazy drivers on crazy lakes, but that Vexus was horrible because the person didn't air up the seat. When they air up the seat, that air ride seat, Vexus is one of the best boats. I will take it every single day because there's tons of floor space for the camera to fit, for your bag to fit. There's space in back. It's just a well-designed, laid-out boat. The Phoenixes are well-designed, laid-out boats. The only thing I don't like about the Phoenix is their rod locker, or the lockers in back are pretty small. But heck, nobody leaves any space for us for those anyways. That's what they're supposed to do. We're supposed to have storage in back, but I'm pretty sure it's a rule, but I've never seen that storage. I think like 2 years ago, guys were leaving storage open for us in back, but I hadn't seen that in years. But the Nitros have a lot of room in back, and Nitros, those boats, 15 years ago, I was scared to get in a Nitro, and I think that they've turned into amazing boats, great rides. They've got a lot of back deck space, and that's what we look for. I mean, we're not worried about the front deck because we don't ever go up there.
Yeah, I think I'll just set this here. I think, without a doubt, my favorite riding boat is the Phoenix. I don't know what they're doing with this hull, but it is unreal. Like it's the smoothest. It just lands soft. It's just a soft running boat. Like some boats you'll go over chop and it's like that. And the whatever they're doing with that hull in a Phoenix, it's just smooth. It's just a very soft running hull. It's the best running bass boat I think that's ever been made. My favorite layout, I think, might go to a Skeeter, actually. If you guys have ever worked in a Skeeter very much, it's a wider boat, but it's just everything's symmetrical. The fit and finish of Skeeters is very, very good. So yeah, if you could put the layout of a Skeeter onto the hull of a Phoenix, I think you would have an ideal bass boat.
I would say probably the Vexus, because for a shooting platform, it's amazing for a cameraman. But the Phoenix right now is probably the top dog right across the board, in my opinion.
I like the Phoenixes, but for a long time, FLW Ranger was always a big sponsor, and I'm really familiar with those boats, and I like Rangers. I think I'm familiar with the boat. I like how they run. I like the size of them. And so I think for me, it's probably Ranger.
There's an element to the layout, two or three different things that we consider as from the cameraman's perspective in the layout. One is like where you're going to sit. What's that middle seat like? Some of the boats actually have a middle seat right there to sit in. Some have a cup holder, which is not so comfortable when you're running across the lake. But the other thing is that how does it step down? Because if you're up in the front deck and he lands a fish and you've got to backpedal through the middle of the boat to get back into the back where he's running around back there, if you don't know the layout very well, you can easily trip over a seat or trip over one. If it's too big of a step down, it's hard to do that backwards. When you've got the camera on your shoulder and you're looking out of your eye and you can't see what's behind you. So some of the boats, I think the Phoenix does that really well. You can go, it's a gradual step down from the top deck all the way to the back, but you can run backwards through that with the camera and know where everything is. Skeeters the same way. Skeeters are wide open and you can get through that passageway without running into the boat official and make it all the way to the back without tripping over anything. In some of the boats, you can't do that with. They're too big of a step, or there's too many steps, and then you're just tripping over or it's not wide enough, and you're tripping over everything trying to get through it. But one of the things I like about the Phoenix is I'm not a real tall guy, and there's an extra step right here on the left-hand side, and if you do get to ride in the seat, you can put your foot right there and kind of prop it up, whereas most of these boats seem to be made for like 6 foot tall plus guys, and the prop is like way over there, and I feel like a little kid. I can't even reach it, So I appreciate that thought in the Phoenix for that very reason.
Sure.
Yep, Phoenix. Just say Phoenix again, and along with what he's saying, that compartment on the side that slopes down, you can actually step on that to get around and walk around the boat too. So Phoenix for sure.
Do you mind checking the time again, Austin or Kelly? Just 1:05. Okay. Well, we can wrap up here soon. But is there anything that you guys would like to cover? Any war stories that are important that you think you want to share to the interweb? What did you guys think of the season? This is the final. This is the final event of the Bass Pro Tour season. We also were doing the tournament, the Pro Circuit tournaments, Tackle Warehouse. Anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I can't think of anything offhand, but yeah, it's been a great season. And one other person that you were talking about anglers before, I really miss Aaron Martins.
Oh man!
Because you never knew what you were going to get with him, but it was always great. And just great guy.
But to bring that, I shared probably a year and a half before he passed. I in a very similar setting as this. It was the end of a turn. I can't even remember what tournament it was, but I remember just chilling out with Aaron, with a group of people that were just at the hotel, like just random guys, and we were all just hanging out. Were you with us? Yeah, Cody. Yeah, and we were hanging out.
Hanging out at the pool.
Hanging out at the pool with. There's some like workers that were like the construction workers, and we were all just drinking beers and just bullshitting, and he was so humble, so laid back. He has that, that California just chill attitude, and I feel so fortunate to have had so many great times with Aaron in the boat, like all.
The cool thing is we worked with him, but I could call him on the phone and he would answer and just be like, "Hey bro, what's up?" And we don't get that with all of the anglers. I mean, there is a professionalism to what we do. We don't just call. I mean, there's some anglers we become friends with, but like Aaron, I could show up to go fish a kayak tournament out at Logan Martin. I'd give him a call and he'd just answer the phone. "Hey bro, what's up?" Like we've just been best friends for 20 years, and I always appreciated that. And we were really good friends. And as I know we all were, and that made it real hard. And he camped out a lot too. So I'd see him at the campgrounds, and a lot of times be camped right next to him and just hanging out at his boat as he's working on things. And and that's something else that we get to do that I love about camping is being just parked next to a lot of these anglers, and you get to know them on a personal level. And somebody like Aaron Martins, when you get to know him, I mean, what you see is what you get with Aaron. He was always the same. I've been working with him for 15 years filming things, and that hits kind of hard.
Yeah, I think about that time, that night, and that's the thing, as tough as this job can be. I think of moments like that, and as a fan of this sport, I feel very, very lucky. And I also see it as there's a life lesson there, that when we were at that campfire, he had no idea that he had that tumor growing in his brain. None of us know that maybe we might not be here in a year and a half. And I think about that. I think about how important that lesson is, and to not take life for granted, because here the guy is at the top of his game, man. And it didn't matter. He died too soon, and I'm not special, and so just cherish every day you got, man.
And he treated everybody like a human being, like a person. There was no I'm better than you or anything like that. I mean, any cameraman that got on his boat had the same experience, and we got to, and just what you're talking about, sitting there and hanging out, and that was a very special moment, because I think there were 3 or 4 of us that were there, and he just hung out like he was one of the boys,
like one of the guys, man.
I mean, for hours. I mean, 2 or 3 hours. That's probably the latest I ever stayed up.
Yeah, I always remember that.
I got one more thing to say about it. Not Aaron, but just with these guys. So one of the neatest things that we kind of forget about, what's weird is when you see an angler either dressed up or when they're out of like uniform.
Right.
Like these regular guys, they either look so young or look completely different from what we think they are when they don't have hats on or anything else. What we forget about is these regular guys have worked so hard. This is like their dream. They've worked so hard to get here. And they'll remember a guy who I fished a tournament in 2010. He'll remember his third fish, everything. They might not remember their anniversary, anything else, but they'll remember
one fish.
everything about every tournament. And part of that is you, like being in the boat. They remember everything. They remember you. They remember things about it. You become part of like their life. You know, what they've worked so hard for their entire life to be there, you're part of it. You're part of that day. You have a special bond, especially the guys who win the big tournaments and different things. If you're with like at a Red Crest or different things, you know, you're part of that moment. And that's pretty neat.
That's very neat.
To be a part of that, and you have that connection with the guys. And that's
No
what
doubt.
flying the drone, I kind of miss that. You miss, my shoulder thanks me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you miss that connection. And
No
that's
doubt.
something that, you know, most
I mean,
people don't
you're
get.
spending like a whole day with these guys a lot of times, you
And
know?
it's some of the most amazing points of their life that they've worked so hard to get. They remember forever. I mean, this is their dream since they've been little kids to achieve something, and they've sacrificed a ton to get there. And then, you know, you're part of that.
Right.
That's pretty neat.
It's wonderful, no doubt. Does anybody have anything they'd like to
One
add?
thing before I go pee. Because you know, we're a family. We've been a family. But what brought this all together was Randy, and his keeping us all together after all this years amazing. But also the boat officials.
Randy
The
White.
family of boat officials have become a family as well.
I really mean this. This is everything that I'd hoped it would be. Just the fact that we'd have this candid conversation. Let's just get this thing
Get a
recorded.
bunch of smart asses together and see where it goes.
Well,
We're glad that you had a low bar.
yeah, well, you know me, man. But I really, you know, I really, you know, maybe when you get older, you get a little bit more sentimental. And I think you realize that you can't take life for granted, you know, more as you get some miles on you and more wisdom. But I really, truly love you guys. And I feel very privileged to have worked alongside you for this length of time, and goes for you guys behind the camera as well.
Are you the youngest one of us?
I don't think so.
Chad
I
is.
don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I'm 46. Is that young?
Chad and Dustin.
Dustin, I forget. Yeah, Dustin. Of the ones here now, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, thank you. I really mean it. I truly love you guys. Yeah, truly love you guys.